Always a great pleasure to have Mark Steyn on the show. He joins us now from Montreal, of all places. How are you, my friend?
Hey, good to be with you, Michael. Congratulations on your Diamond Jubilee medal, by the way.
Well, you've got one too, haven't you?
No. I'm the only guy in Quebec who has it. By the way, I could barely get to the studio here today because the streets were thronged with joyful Quebec monarchists cheering your Diamond Jubilee medal. I mean, it's astonishing. I haven't seen things like this since the relief of Mafeking in 1899.
I have that effect on people. It is quite extraordinary. Now, you didn't hear the monologue, but I was speaking about how the drug campaigners get so excited about what is really just a personal habit, and I really couldn't care less if they get high. But they're so obsessed with this, and it's the notion of causes that really shouldn't be of major significance. I mean, if you're fighting against world hunger, OK, I can understand that. But you're fighting for the right to get high. So many groups like this, I don't care what they do, most of us don't, but they get so angry if you in any way disagree with them.
Well, in a sense, personal hedonism has become the be-all and end-all of modern Western civilization. Yes. And if a guy wakes up in the morning and decides he wants to be a woman, he has the right to be a woman, and the government has to pay for it. And if you, in that kind of situation, I can well see why a fella who just wants to roll a bit of paper and smoke a little weed might wonder why his particular indulgence doesn't get the same encouragement from the state. So I'm kind of mildly sympathetic on that argument. But you're right, at a certain point, the idea that man is no more than the prisoner of his appetites is a reductive view of humanity.
Well said. Now, speaking of appetite, we saw people at the Right to Work demonstration in Michigan obviously had very large appetites. It is incredible how many of these lefties are enormously overweight. They must be earning quite good money to pay for all that junk food. But the idea, look, I'm not anti-union. I believe in a market. Workers have the right to form together and form a union. This notion of people having to be in a union or having to pay dues even when they're not a member of a union.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any answer, any justification for that. I mean, I'm entirely in support of free association. If a bunch of people want to get together and negotiate a better deal because they figure they can do so as a bloc, then that's fine. The scenes we saw in Michigan, though, were really quite disgraceful. And, of course, they're particularly absurd because that is a state that has been destroyed by a view of basic economic unreality. I think I say somewhere in my book that Detroit was the powerhouse of the world 60 years ago, and now it looks ruined. If you were to take the average American from, say, 1943 and put him in a time capsule and bring him to 2012, and you showed him Michigan today, he'd think that the Japanese had won the Second World War and they'd finished the war by nuking Detroit. If you compare Detroit with Hiroshima, it's no contest. Hiroshima is thriving and looks fantastic, and Detroit is a wasteland.
Yeah, I haven't thought of it in that way, but yeah, if you juxtapose the two, when I drive down to, it's not Detroit as such, but outside of the city, you're warned by people, make sure you don't come off on this exit at a particular time of night. It is a complete dump, and it's not about race, that's not the issue. The issue is years of very liberal, Democrat intrusive governments and the power of unions.
Well, yeah, and if you go through from Windsor, Ontario to Detroit, Michigan, you think you've crossed into the third world. You basically go from a rather dull, sleepy Ontario town into what is a war zone, into a place that has the functional literacy rate of the Central African Republic. That's not an exaggeration, by the way, and the Central African Republic, at least as the justification that for most of the 70s and 80s it was ruled by a cannibal emperor. Detroit had the misfortune to be ruled by the Democratic Party and has ended up in the same state. Their proposal now is there's so many derelict city blocks, they want to sell farmland in the city limits so that people will be able to graze Holsteins on abandoned blocks between crack houses. I mean, this ought to shame every American. And the guys bullying and beating and destroying yesterday don't get that they're largely responsible for the state of Michigan.
You know, the movie that is still airing, Abraham Lincoln, which I must admit I haven't seen yet, just seen the trailer, but apparently it's very good. But America, this great nation, this great notion, a country that was prepared to rip itself apart to deal with an era of birth, slavery, of all the greatness, the Nobel Prize winners, the contribution to the Second World War, so much essential greatness. But it seems now the United States reached a point and it's almost going backwards. It's embarrassed by all of the wonders they've achieved in the past.
Well, you know, in the end, these aren't economic issues, they're moral issues. Angela Merkel understands that the problem in Greece is not the Greek bookkeeping, but the Greek people, and that's true in California, and that's true in Michigan as well. And you marvel at what the first settlers of the United States did. The first miller in my town in New Hampshire, for example, dragged his mill wheels up the frozen Connecticut River in the winter of 1763, dragged them into the woods, cleared some trees, and built a mill. And you have, you know, the descendant. These are the descendants of these people. That's, I mean, I'm not making an anti-American point here. That's true in Quebec, for as much as anywhere else. The bastion of French North America, and it's true in Europe too, that the people who were once happy to stand on their own 2 feet, in a sense now live only in the government safety net.
Yeah. Now, stay with us, Mark, because when we come back, a slight change of tune, well, literally, really, in that the tune we'll be playing will be, well, some of your greatest hits, and particularly pertinent for Christmas. So stay with us, please.
Glowworm glimmer.
Shine, little glowworm glimmer. Lead us west too far we wander. Yuletide cheer is calling.
So, the author of enormously best-selling books, the man who sits in for Rush Limbaugh when he's away, a man who turns away offers of incredibly important columns because it's Mark's time, but also, and welcome back, Mark, but I know your fans know about your extraordinary abilities as a singer and record maker, but other people will be quite surprised by this. Tell us about this album.
Yeah, it's my Christmas album with Jessica Martin, who's a British actress and singer. She, speaking of your Diamond Jubilee medal, she played the Queen on the Christmas edition of Doctor Who a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And she and I mean, we just love singing together. So we did 12 Christmas songs, including my disco version of A Marshmallow World. Jessica and I decided to do a 70s disco version of Marshmallow World. And again, I think, not to make your Diamond Jubilee medal the running theme of this show, but it would make a great kind of 70s disco medallion nestling in your chest hair as you've got the big John Travolta shirt collar slashed open to the midriff with your Diamond Jubilee medal nestling in your chest hair as you shake your booty around the dance floor, Michael. I think I can hear Buckingham Palace revoking your honour even as I speak.
That is oddly intriguing. I mean, I do shake my booty quite often, and people might not even be aware of this because at the end of the show I'll probably mention it, but the Queen's Jubilee Medal, the Diamond Jubilee Medal, but there are 60,000 given out, which we measured as every 500 Canadians have it. So nice to have it, but it's not like winning the Victoria Cross. But a bit
no, maybe they should just do house calls.
It's like it's a bit like the Order of Ontario. You know, you open your cereal and, oh, look, dear, I've got the Order of Ontario.
No, don't knock it. You've got one, I haven't. I never get anything.
No, I don't have the... I've got a papal medal and the Queen's Jubilee medal.
Oh, wait, you've got a papal medal. I'm out of here. I'm renouncing my citizenship. I'm done.
Yeah, a mixture of feudalism and monarchism. Now, but a bit more about the album. And by the way, if people want it, just go to your website.
Yeah, well, you can get it at all the good places, iTunes and Amazon, and all those kind of things, and you know, I'm not sure whether it meets Canadian content requirements, but there's a wide variety of songs from around the world there, and the band is absolutely terrific.
Your interest in musicals and singing and entertainment, it would surprise many people because they would assume, how should I put this, a certain maybe liberal, gay content in people who are interested in that walk of life. But Neither of those would apply to you, as far as I know.
Well, I don't know what you're trying to say. I don't know what you're trying to say, Michael. I think it was the Sunday Telegraph that said that attempted to settle that question once and for all and concluded that Mark Steyn appears to be the only heterosexual Liza Minnelli fan. So I'm not saying whether they're right or not.
And you're not Jewish either. Hollywood musicals, you love musicals, you're an expert on musicals, you're straight, Christian and conservative. Good Lord, you fail on every count, don't you?
Yeah, Leonard Bernstein used to say to write a musical, you have to be gay or Jewish, and I'm both. I wrote a book about musicals, and John Podhoretz of Commentary magazine in New York couldn't get over that. He said, you're not Jewish, you're not gay, and you wrote a book about musicals. Why? But I love these songs, and I was doing okay with the old political commentary until the catastrophe of November the 6th in the United States. I used to look on my political commentary as subsidizing my music career, whereas now, basically, I'm looking to my Christmas album sales to subsidize my political commentary in this new environment.
Not that you need any subsidy. How are you regarded, though, in the United States? Because whenever I talk about you, your name comes up in conversation, people treat you as though you're this incredibly wise character, but they never quite know you or meet you. You're somewhere in the country. They don't know where you're from or what you do, but you have these brilliant comments and commentaries about the United States.
Well, I've never been, as they say, based in New York or Washington or Los Angeles. Most foreign correspondents around the world who are sent to America are sent either to New York or Washington, or if they're covering the entertainment scene, to Los Angeles. Yeah. And I don't look on those places as typical of the United States. When I wrote for the National Post in Canada, for example, I wrote about American issues from rural New Hampshire. And I think in that, if you want to write about education, if you want to write about welfare, if you want to write about dependency, if you want to write about guns, you have to be somewhere that is not a kind of artificial bubble of urban cosmopolitanism, as New York is, or of government workforce, like Washington is. Yeah. And I think it's a complete. I mean, I'm not trying to tell newspaper owners how to spend their money, but I think it's a complete waste of money being in Sydney or Paris or London and sending a guy to go and live in Washington, D.C. to write about America. I think that's a complete waste of time.
I think that's very perceptive indeed. Now, you can get his books, obviously, online, his website or Amazon or Chapters or wherever, and the CD as well. Get it for Christmas. It'll make it a very happy one. Mark, have a wonderful Christmas. Thanks for your time, my friend.
Vous aussi, Monsieur Cohen. Joyeux Noël. Bonne fête de Montréal.
See ya.
Okay, bye.